One sunny day in New York, about 20 years ago, something deeply moving happened to me. In an instant, I went from being a refugee from the former Soviet Union and stateless to becoming an American citizen. Of course, I felt great joy at my new home and incredible gratitude to all those who had made it possible. Surrounded by at least 100 other new Americans, I was handed a miniature flag and took the oath. But as I was saying those words, I felt something else too, a conflict. I suddenly realized that from that point on, I wouldn't just be an American, I would be a Russian American. What did that even mean? I thought about the abyss between these two concepts, Russian and American. It just didn't add up. Yet, there I was. The complexity of this internal conflict was just too daunting, and once I heard the sounds of the national anthem, I became even more distraught. It just didn't comfort me in my struggle. It spoke to my joy, but not to my pain. So I searched for a way to reconnect with myself beyond those words, beyond those tags that I didn't really understand. And soon enough, I was crying my eyes out in the company of complete strangers. How embarrassing. In retrospect, I do know that this was me connecting to myself on the extralinguistic level. What do I mean by extralinguistic? Well, what you need to know is that today I'm an expat here in Switzerland, at least for the time being, and a multilingual translator and interpreter. For those of you unfamiliar with the difference, translators help people communicate in writing, while interpreters do the same verbally and usually on the spot. Some of us do both, but that's not always the case. Having dedicated my life to learning languages, different speaking and writing styles, technical terminology, I now literally spend my days obsessed about language, searching for the right words in one to convey meaning in another. To achieve effective communication in my work, I'm guided by an important theory, which is called théorie du sens. French, at least my version of French, for the theory of sense, or meaning. You see, human translators and interpreters cannot commit the biggest sin, word-for-word translation. That's a job we prefer to leave to Google Translate. What we need to do is to identify the message, not just the words the speaker is saying. So we rely on our extralinguistic knowledge, that which does not involve language and lies beyond its bounds. In short, these are things that we know, understand, and sense. So ironically, we let go of words in order to communicate more effectively. This takes a lot of practice because it can be incredibly scary. To make it less scary for myself, I've come to think of it as a magical moment in which I come in touch with my conscious, sensing, feeling self. But this theory doesn't only apply to what I do in my professional life, it reflects what I've come to rely on in my personal life. You see, in the face of conflict, the ability to process what is happening through this extralinguistic level has never failed me. It has made me stronger. Shortly after coming to the US with my parents, I entered a prolonged state of not being able to express myself either in Russian, the language I was supposed to be speaking at home, or in English, the language I was learning at school and on the streets. They just seemed to represent such contradictory worldviews, and for a while, they were both beyond my reach. So I turned to a language that didn't require speaking, the language of music. Having been introduced to the piano at an early age, it was through music that I initially acquired my very small set of extralinguistic tools and learned to gradually build it up. I don't know if you're aware, but music affects us in incredible and unexpected ways. In recent decades, brain scientists and psychologists have demonstrated that music can change our emotions, reshape our brain chemistry, help us concentrate, feel empathy, and even improve our health. In groups, playing or listening to a piece of music together can result in an alignment of emotions and thoughts, even if for just a moment. So we've come to see music not only as an art form, but as an important tool. We all experience our share of conflicts, be they personal or in relationships. And sometimes, when blown out of proportion, they escalate to political and global conflicts. Those in the hot spot are affected the most, but these conflicts affect all of us. I witnessed two cataclysmic events firsthand. In 1991, not long after the Iron Curtain fell, I saw the August coup on the streets of Moscow. Although I was just a child, I knew that the tanks on the city streets represented a widening of a deep divide that would impact not only the people of the USSR, but the entire world. Just 10 years later, while living my life as an American citizen, I found myself on the Brooklyn side of the East River in New York on September 11th, 2001, staring in consternation at that harrowing cloud of smoke coming from what used to be the World Trade Center. This was a vivid display of a conflict that would soon envelop the whole world. In moments such as these, words are often not enough to process, heal, and grow. But the good news is that each and every one of us has an extralinguistic side that we can discover and tap into on our own, in families and social groups, and as society on the whole. Last month, the leaders of North and South Korea came together to sign an agreement to try and end more than 60 years of conflict. But beyond the words of that agreement, they shook hands and planted a tree together. This is a powerful example of our innermost need and ability to connect on the extralinguistic level. So, what does it take to discover this part of you? Well, for me, it was music. But it can be any activity that lets you get in touch with that part of yourself which does not involve language. Drawing, dancing, cycling, or just long walks in nature. These experiences teach us how to be with ourselves and with each other without talking. Letting go of the words may be scary at first, but I can guarantee that the more you practice, the better you will get at it. In that naturalization ceremony 20 years ago, there were no words for the intensity of what I felt. So I revisited the extralinguistic side, drawing on it for strength to embrace being who I am, a Russian American, a former refugee, and a future expat. Sometimes words are simply not enough, and that is okay.